Okay, all right. Thank you guys for showing up. This is the How to Start Research in ECE event, where my name's Kosh and Juliana, who kind of introduced herself. Do you want to introduce yourself, Juliana?
Hey guys, I'm Juliana. I'm a third year EE.
Cool. So yeah, her and I are kind of going to give you a little bit of rundown of different research that professors are doing in ECE, and just give you a little bit information about all the types of labs that we have. And there were a lot more than even I knew about, so doing this research was kind of eye-opening to me as well. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to unmute and ask or put it in the chat. We'll have a Q&A session at the end of 20-some slides if you have any questions in that. So what the layout of this kind of event is, we're going to have we're going to tell you about a lab. We're going to tell you about kind of the faculty in charge of the lab, and then a little bit about the lab that they do. And yeah, so the first one is the Applied Networking Research Lab, and the person in charge of that is Joleste Oliveira, and she teaches a couple of networking classes at Drexel as well. So this lab focuses mainly on modeling and simulation on wired, wireless, and sensor networks. So those of you that are kind of interested in kind of networking and Wi-Fi protocols and all that, this is kind of the lab that works on all those things. They have a lot of high-end equipment like Cisco routers and several PC routers. So another one is the BioImage Laboratory, and the professor in charge of this is Dr. Andrew Cohen. This is kind of more focused on using computer to analyze data analyze biological data. So they utilize computer gaming hardware and software architectures to and combine those with open source tools to kind of optimally run human knowledge and visual capabilities on the data that they have. These slides I'll send out at the end of the event, so you have access to all these resources and links. There's a couple of these labs. I linked some websites that the lab has, as well as some of them have a couple cool videos or like a minute or 2 minute blurb on kind of what the lab does and talks about. So next one is the Drexel VLSI Architectural Laboratory. Drexel offers a couple of VLSI courses. VLSI stands for Very Large Scale Integration. It's kind of a higher level course that you take around your pre-junior to your junior and senior year. So this laboratory kind of tackles multiple aspects of the integrated circuit and chip architecture, and as well as designing and testing these circuitry to make sure they're doing what they need to do. So next one is a Drexel Network Modeling Laboratory. The professor in charge of this is Dr. Stephen Weber. I believe he's the kind of one of the heads in the EC department. He's been here a while. So this kind of investigates problems in the mathematical world by modeling these communication networks, and with a specific focus in wireless ad hoc networks, and using these kind of three main things: mathematical modeling, computer simulation, as well as performance optimization. So this next one is kind of a really big one that I've worked in personally, the Drexel Wireless Systems Laboratory. The professor in charge of it is Dr. Donnar, but there are a bunch of other professors that do work and do research in conjunction with Dr. Donnar. So the main idea is they have these software-defined radio networks, and you can see in the picture on the bottom right, they have a whole grid of these set up, and they just prototype different types of communication systems. And it's a lot of cool stuff. Wireless communication systems. They have an anechoic chamber, which kind of keeps all signals inside. They have another chamber that kind of absorbs all sound. So they have a really cool bunch of cool equipment. If you are interested in any kind of wireless communication system, definitely research this for you. So next one is the Electronic Design Automation Facility. So Dr. Nagarajara and Dr. Taskin are professors in charge of this. They deal with industrial grade electronic design and kind of work with analog, digital, and mixed signal systems development. So FPGAs, field programmable gate arrays, and embedded stuff. So kind of working with both the hardware and software kind of things. So next one is this is the name of the laboratory, Testbed for Power Performance Management of Enterprise Computing Systems. Dr. Kandasamy is in charge of this one, and they use algorithms and techniques to kind of manage the performance and power of large enterprise computing systems. The testbed that they have is a bunch of Dell 2950s and 1950s, and virtualization of this kind of cluster is enabled by that whole mumbo jumbo. So if that kind of more software side suits you, this is really interesting. So the next one again, this is the Data Fusion Laboratory run by Dr. Weber. They investigate problems in multi-sensory detection and estimation with applications of robotics, digital communication, radar, and target trafficking. So kind of the projects that they've been working on is robot navigation, modulation recognition, and RF scene analysis, as well as pattern recognition in biological data sequences. So kind of just looking at different types of scenarios and figuring out how they can improve it with whether it be robotics or communications or target tracking. So next one is the Music and Entertainment Technology Laboratory. That's run by Dr. Kim. And I know a couple of people that actually have done research in this, and it's some really cool stuff if you're really interested in where the technology and music come together. And specifically engineering, he does some really cool stuff there. Some of the research topics that they do there is music and motion recognition, noise, robust beat tracking, brain-computer interfaces, some really neat stuff if you're interested in that. Julianne, you want to take over?
Yep. So we have, that's about half the labs. There's still a bunch more. This is the Nanophotonics and Plasmonics Lab. There's kind of two labs related to nanophotonics, so I think the other one's in a couple slides, or it's in here somewhere. But this one deals with the characterization of optoelectronic, photonic, and plasmonic devices. And I don't know, I can't remember if Akash said this or not, but some of the labs do have website links. So where possible, we put those in here. So when you guys get the slides, if you want, you can go more into those yourself. Next slide, please. This is the Microwave Photonics Device Lab. There's a ton of information on this. So yeah, there's kind of just like a screenshot of all the different stuff that is covered as part of this. A couple different parts of it. You've got data pattern generator, optical spectrum analyzer. There's a ton of different things that you could do if you were working in this lab. Again, overall, mostly focusing on high speed analog and digital electronics and fiber optics systems. So it's basically this one. And then, yeah, we have the Nanophotonics Plus Lab. This one focuses on the nanoscale interaction of light with matter. Some different stuff with liquid crystals, alternative energy generation, inkjet printed conducting materials, different stuff like that, as well as some smart textile stuff. And then a nice long title, OptoElectro Mechanical Lab. This one does not have the faculty listed, but if you happen to know the faculty, feel free to just drop it in the chat. Yeah, this one looks at integrating, as you could guess from the title, optics, electronics, and mechanical components and systems, looking at imaging, communication, and biomed research. There's a bunch of different specific research areas, which again, we don't have to go through all of them right now, but they're up there if that's what you're interested in. We have the Plasma and Magnetics Laboratory, and this one's looking at applications of electrical and magnetic technology to biology and medicine. A couple different applications, non-thermal atmospheric pressure plasma for medicine, particles for drug delivery, as well as miniature NMR sensors for cellular imaging. So that's that one. We have the Adaptive Signal Processing and Information Theory Research Group. This one looks at belief and expectation propagation, turbo decoding, and composite adaptive system theory. This one also has a website if you want to read a more in-depth explanation of what it does. A couple different current research projects that they have out there listed there as well. We have the Ecological and Evolutionary Signal Processing and Informatics Lab. This one looks to enhance the use of high throughput DNA sequencing technologies with pattern recognition and signal processing techniques. Again, also has a website with a lot more information than what we have here. But just a couple different applications would include looking at environmental factors and interspecies relationships, or classifying potential and functional genes. And then we have the Nuclear Engineering Education Laboratory, run, of course, by Dr. Peters. This one just is looking at providing like a hands-on understanding of power plants, as well as radiation detection and analysis. Looking at design, as well as there's some lab equipment to actually help identify, detect radiation, and different methods for doing this from a remote situation. We have the Center for Electric Power Engineering. Yeah, this one actually does have like a pretty robust website for it. Looking at advancing the knowledge associated with generation, transmission, distribution, use, and conservation of electric power. So pretty much everything that relates to power. There's a bunch of different stuff that they work on, including microgrids, renewable generation, all different stuff. They have plenty of old senior design projects linked on their website, because I've looked through it before. So if you are interested in that and you want to read through some of the senior design projects that could be related from this, those are definitely there to look at. And then I think this is either the last or like the second to last one. This is kind of part of the previous slide, looking specifically, like it says, like simulation device modeling, experimental testing in power electronic circuits, with a couple specific research interests. So yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, that's about all the labs that ECE has to offer. There's a lot more than I was expecting, and kind of each one deals with kind of a unique area. There's a couple that overlap, but mostly they're kind of unique and really interesting stuff that our professors are doing here. So at the end, I kind of linked to the website where I got all these labs from. So when I do send these slides out, you can be able to go and kind of do your own research if this wasn't kind of extensive enough for you. Some of these things might be boring to you. Other labs are like, wow, I would love to play around with this. And I think that's kind of what you want to look at when you're trying to decide where you want to research, whether the lab has things that you would consider a playground. So like if you go in and it's like, wow, there's so many toys I can play with. I think that's the right fit for you. Whereas if you're kind of like, oh, wow, I'm just going to sit at a computer all day, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, do you have any questions? Let me know. Okay, my screen's freezing. I'm just going to stop sharing. Disco. Oh yeah, I've heard of yeah, I don't know why it's not on the website though. That's really strange. Thanks, Sid. I've definitely heard of that, but I just didn't see it on the website, so I guess I didn't include it. But yeah, so Dr. Das deals with a lot of kind of cloud computing, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but just a lot of a little bit of machine learning too, I believe. And he teaches
learning, cloud computing, and neuromorphic computing and in-memory computing. So basically, modeling hardware you can run neural networks efficiently on.
Yeah.
Nope.
Cool. Thanks, Ed. I just missed that one. Does anyone have any questions about anything, about how to get in touch with a professor, a little more about a laboratory? Just unmute and ask, or feel free to put it in the chat. Okay.
Akash, I have a question.
Yeah, what's up, Layla?
So you said that you've maybe potentially reached out to some of these professors to work on research. What would you say is the best approach that you took to be able to partake in research, like with a professor? Like, do you have any tips to reach out to somebody?
Yeah, great question. So when you're kind of emailing so the best way to get in touch with a professor is either email or office hours. Oftentimes their office hours are kind of, if you're in the class, you can just go in the office hours and talk to that professor. And then if not, you just shoot them an email. And the way to format an email is begin with what you're interested in, then talk about what qualifications you have, what experience you have working in it, and then end with like why you would have fun working in that lab, or what you would learn, or what you would gain from that. That's kind of what I did in my freshman year, to reach out to Dr. Donnar to get an interview with him, just to speak about what I would like to do within his lab. And don't lose a courage if they don't respond fast. It often takes weeks or a couple of days or a week before they respond. So don't get discouraged. Follow up with if you want, after a week or 10 days, just follow up with an email and say, hey, could you please get to this when you get a chance? Appreciate it. So if there's any people in here that have done VIP, which is the vertically integrated projects, I believe they sent out an email before the start of the term, a couple weeks before the term, or either the first week of the term. And kind of VIP is what VIP has a bunch of projects. So each professor has kind of a thing that they're working on, and you apply through the VIP program. And if you're accepted, you can work with that professor for, I believe, 0 credits or up to 3 credits. And you work that out with your advisor. And if you stay involved in that project with a professor for multiple terms, you can actually get credits towards ECE classes. So definitely a really interesting project or program if you're interested in doing undergraduate research with a professor. It's a great opportunity. So yeah, thanks. Great question, Layla.
Thanks for answering.
So in the slides, Mike, in the slides that I have, what I'll send out after the meeting, there's a link that has all the slides here. I'll just. This is the site that I use to get all the labs. Just keep in mind it is ECE. It is a website, probably not as updated as it should be. So there could be a couple of things that are, a couple of projects that, they might not be doing anymore. And on the kind of the upside of that is they might have more equipment, test equipment that they didn't have before. So kind of both sides of that coin. And I don't think Disco is on this for some reason. So Sid, I don't know if you want to reach out and ask if they can put DAS's website.
Not the VIP manual. The VIP thing. I think we have it. If you guys want to go through that, it's on Blackboard, like somewhere. I don't really remember the path exactly, but it's in one of the folders in advising. So there'll be like this whole Dropbox folder where you can look at VIP projects if you guys are interested.
Yeah, definitely. There's I think in A4E there you have that. I'll see if I can find that and link it out when we follow up with the email with the recording and the slides. I'll see if I can add that link in there too. So if anyone's interested in VIP and the different projects that they have, I think that'd be really interesting. Thanks, Ed. Yeah, thanks, Gary. So my personal research project, I work with Dr. Donnar on a robotic positioner arm, and this was my freshman year. I started in the spring of my freshman year. Kind of got involved with him to get my foot in the door before I did STAR. So I actually did STAR my freshman year too. So STAR is the summer between your freshman and sophomore year. You do research with a professor, and because of that, I kind of got involved in the spring before that term and started working with Dr. Donnar on the project. So I kind of got like a jump start almost on the my STAR program. And my favorite memory would definitely be, or favorite moment would definitely be kind of taking a robot apart and putting it back together. So the project that I was specifically working on was kind of rejuvenating a robotic positioner. It had been sitting in the back of the lab for the past 10 years, and I had to get the right motors, the sensors, the wires, and whatnot, and just bring it back to life. And I think that was really rewarding to kind of put in all that hard work and see it moving and working. And yeah, what I learned, definitely learned a lot with like hands-on skills, as well as some programming. I worked with Python to create a remote command line interface for that robot. So you can send a command to do something to that robot halfway across the lab, which I think is pretty neat for any kind of wireless testing. So definitely something that the lab will need in the future. And I haven't been in the lab since STAR, which seems crazy to me. But I guess the code and all. And but yeah, whoa, how competitive is research in ECE? I don't know if I can answer that because I'm not currently doing research. I stopped after after the summer. I was supposed to continue doing it, but because everything went online, I never got a chance to kind of go and talk to them about that. But yeah, like Celine says, if you're interested, I think there's a lot of opportunities with so many professors, and kind of all it takes is one email to kind of get the conversation started. And yeah, you just got to be brave enough to kind of take that first step. And I think that once that happens, it'll all fall in place. Great questions, by the way. These are all really good questions. Any more questions? Don't be shy. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, I'm actually doing this from a beach, so I, gotta support IEEE through and through, even when I'm on vacation. So shout out to those of you that private messaged me and thanked me for that. Really appreciate it. Cool. Layla, how challenging do you think it is with doing research and classes at the same time? It definitely takes a little first couple of weeks to kind of get used to kind of balancing that. It's the kind of it almost feels like a job, right? You're trying to balance work and class at the same time because you were doing something for a professor. And challenging, I'd say professors are really understanding. They know that you have classes that you're a student first and a researcher second. So they're really understanding that if you can't get a project done by a certain date, they'll really be lenient with kind of like, oh, don't worry about it for classes first. And yeah, it kind of just depends on how in-depth you want to go to, right? This is kind of a what you put in, you get out kind of way. So if you put more effort into learning something, you'll get more words out of it. So I say research will take you as far as you can take it to. So definitely kind of depends on what you want to do, but you have the potential to go high. Does research at Drexel help with getting a co-op? I don't know if it helps getting co-op, but it looks amazing on your resume, right? You're doing research as an undergraduate with an esteemed professor who's written multiple papers and gotten like accomplishments for his or her research. And yeah, so no, definitely looks amazing. And you can speak about this experience in an interview too. So going into an interview, they would definitely ask you about this research if you had it on your resume. I know I personally talk about my STAR research at most, if not all, my interviews. So it's definitely something that employers look for. How often would you say someone would get their name on a research paper? So Cassius, I know a couple people that have worked on a project. So it all depends on how far that project is in its kind of like life cycle. So if you see a project through from start to finish and you have enough of a kind of impact on that project, you can definitely have an opportunity to get your name on that project. It also depends on whether the professor is kind kind of what the professor wants to do too, but I'd say the potential is there. It's definitely something that varies from professor to professor and project to project though. What skill level? So I know everyone that I know a couple people that had kind of no knowledge in the field or no knowledge about the topic that they wanted to go into, and the professor still kind of took a chance on them. So it really depends. I'd say you just kind of just got to take the first step. It's just kind of a leap of faith you have to kind of email out, and you never know if you don't try. So I definitely recommend, even if you don't think that you're unqualified for, if you're not qualified for the position, the professor may see something in you that you don't really see in yourself. So just kind of take that first step. I definitely recommend trying to get a research position. Not really. So my research was kind of more towards hardware and software, and kind of I haven't really taken any wireless classes yet. So I haven't taken any classes with Dr. Donnar yet. But I think if it really depends on kind of which direction you want to go in. If you do research in, let's say, the Dr. Doss's machine learning or cloud computing or like computing, the Disco Lab, you could have the potential to take classes with him and kind of maybe apply that knowledge with him. And yeah, it really depends from lab to lab, Mike. Yeah. Like Celine and Matt said, it's definitely something that you will talk about on your resume. As long as you have that on there, employers will love to see it. And doing undergraduate research is an amazing accomplishment, regardless of what kind of research or where you did it. So. Yeah, no problem, Mike. Any other questions? Feel free to ask them. I don't mind talking to them. Okay. Well, if there's no other questions, thank you everyone for coming out. And like I said earlier, I will send an email out. We'll send an email out with the recording, the slides, and a link to the VIP kind of VIP offerings as well. So thank you everyone for coming out and kind of sticking around. And I hope you learned something, and kind of don't be afraid to take that first step in emailing a professor. They're not as scary as they seem. It may seem intimidating at first, but just take a leap of faith. And with that, I will say good night. Thank you.